I read some of these customer testimonials, like from the individual employees that have been using our platform, and it's just like, you literally saved me from suicide. Like being able to talk to this person turned my life around, or this saved our marriage, things like that. You're just like, wow, what I'm doing really matters.
Welcome to the Fountain of Vitality podcast. I'm your host, Lamont Levitt. In a world overflowing with noise, confusion, and distraction, we're here to cut through the clutter and explore bold, unique paths to a longer, healthier, and more vibrant life. Through candid conversations with business leaders, wellness experts, industry pioneers, and innovators, we'll uncover insights to help you discover your own personalized, unique approach to thriving. Tune in, trust the compass of wisdom within, and find your fountain of vitality. Hello, my name is Lamont Levitt, and welcome to the Fountain of Vitality podcast. We are thrilled today to have with us Amelia Wilcox. She is the founder and CEO of Nivati. She has quite a story, and I'm looking forward to hearing her journey as how she survived through the crisis of building her company, rebranding and rebuilding again. Amelia, thank you for being here.
You're welcome. You just had to add that second rebranding in there, huh?
I did. Yeah, it's part of the journey. We all have these speed bumps that we go through in life building a company, and we got to realize that that's what they are. It's in our attitude and how we go over those speed bumps and accept that that's part of the journey. That's part of your journey. So tell us the beginning of where you were before the COVID days and how you got to where you're at today.
Yeah, so back in 2010, I started a company called Incorporate Massage, and my background, I studied exercise physiology and nutrition up at the University of Utah. Also was a massage therapist and worked in like chiropractic and, generally like health and wellness with some alternative medicine in there. Didn't graduate from college because I started a massage company and it started taking off, which was awesome. And I was raising babies and stuff like that. So I built Incorporate Massage. We bootstrapped the first 8 years, and then we had started raising money. So we raised like our first angel round in 2018 of about, I actually won a grant from the state, and I had to raise matching funds. And so I had never raised money before. And I was like, this will be fun to learn. Like, I love learning and having like new experiences. So like, okay, I'll go out and raise money. I've always like thought that would be cool. So I got $100,000 grant through GoEd, which has been rebranded. Speaking of rebranding, here in the state of Utah. And it was for the technology platform that we had built. Starting in 2016, we built a platform that allowed people to kind of like automate the whole experience of booking massage. So, I mean, you could think like Uber for massage. We were doing that in 2016, and the state awarded us a $100,000 grant. And so then I went to raise funding. We raised $335,000 in 2018. Got back to profitability, and then in 2019 raised another $600,000, and that money was going to be used to expand the Incorporate Massage platform to deliver other wellness services through partners on site to companies. Because if you remember back to like pre-COVID, everyone was in the office, and
right,
all of the benefits were being brought into the office to like keep people there. People were bringing in everything from like windshield chip repair to puppies, dental cleanings. We got asked
chiropractic.
Yeah, chiropractic, aesthetics. Like people would do like spa days at work and things like that. And so we just had a lot of partners because our customers would ask us for referrals for partners to come in that could do some of these things. And so I was like, well, cool, let's build out our platform. Let's put all of these partners that we're already referring business to on the platform, and then we can take, a revenue share for whatever they book. So we were going to be like the complete on-site wellness kind of solution for businesses. And we got about halfway through that build with that funding that we had raised. And that is when COVID hit. And so I remember because it was Friday the 13th.
Really?
Yep. And like we had just gotten news that COVID had hit the US, and some of our customers started calling and saying like, hey, we need to just like move our massage date back a week or something like that. And in the beginning,
That's product.
yeah, they didn't know it was going to be like longer than that. People's initial reaction was like, well, we just need to push this back, right? So we weren't like issuing refunds and dealing with cancellations. We were just rescheduling people. So our customer service like needs went way up. And then it just kept compounding and compounding as it spread throughout the US. And as more people were realizing, like, okay, we're going to have to send our employees home to work instead of being able to, oh, they're going home for a week. Like this, like, oh, well, we actually need to send them home with monitors and chairs because they're not coming back to the office for the near future. So that was really interesting. So we're obviously not closing new business during this time. And it's all around just like managing our existing customers and keeping them happy and trying to reschedule stuff. As time went on over the next few months, then people are like canceling and churning and all sorts of stuff because they're just like, well, we're just working from home. And so while that was going on, my board was like pushing me to build some forecasts that I felt like were just out of left field. They're like, we'll build a forecast, assuming you have like no massage income for 6 weeks, and build one for, 3 months. And then they wanted me to build this 6-month one. And I was like, you guys, there's no way this is going to last 6 months. Like that's a waste of time. I have all this other important stuff to do. Right. But I did what they asked. And I'm so grateful that I did and that they pushed me to do that, because I did not know, like going through the exercise of like, okay, what would this look like? And they said to me, what if massage never comes back? What do you do? And it just seems so impossible and fantastical. But it ended up being reality. So I was really glad I did that. So I just was like, okay, if massage never comes back, what do we do? Because we were doing on-site corporate massages, like chair massages. And so I was like, we have 300 grand left in the bank. We're not quite back to profitability yet. And now, we're losing all of our revenue. We basically went from 6 million to 0 over the course of like 10 days. It was crazy.
Wow.
And I just thought it would come back, but it didn't. It never did. And so luckily I listened to my board and I started putting together some different plans and just started experimenting with all sorts of things. So the first thing we did is we sent out a survey to all of our providers, and we said, if you like, what else can you do besides massage? So a lot of massage therapists, they know like, they do other stuff besides just massage. So they will, we had people that were registered dietitians that also did like nutrition coaching.
Perfect.
Yeah, I know. It was great. And we had yoga instructors, and we had personal trainers and all these different things. And so I just kind of collected a list of people who were like, I do these other things and I'm willing to do them online, and just see how it goes. So I basically went to our existing customers and I was like, instead of you getting your money back, can we just support your employees remotely with these different wellness services? And that's kind of how we approached it in the beginning. And some of our customers here in Utah were awesome. And they were like, yeah, let's see how it goes. And that allowed us to kind of experiment with this idea of like giving wellness services online. The second thing that we did is, well, there were some other things too, where it was like, we were trying to use our platform to provide COVID vaccine scheduling with the state. And we had gotten some money from that. We had even like reached out to Amazon to see if our massage therapists could help with some of their driving, because Amazon was getting super overwhelmed at this time too. And it's like, we have all these people and they have time and they need money and they have cars. Like, can we help with stuff? And that didn't go anywhere. But we were kind of just,
you're grasping for straws to figure out what was the next move.
Yeah. And it was like, it could be anything. And I don't care what it is. We have to keep these people employed and, take care of our people and like figure out how to help people in a new way. So the next thing we did is while we were doing these like live, and we were doing like group yoga classes, group meditations, with like a whole team of people. While we were doing these classes, customers started to ask us if they could record them or if we could create a recording and send it to them. And so I was like, maybe there's like a market for for like pre-recorded classes or some way that we can create content and like sell that content where you could sell it over and over again, right? So I invested a little bit of money. We also ended up getting PPP funding because we had kept a lot of our team.
The people in place, yeah.
We ended up getting like $1 million in little chunks across like a couple years. And we got idle funding as well. So yeah, I think altogether it was around $1 million that we got at like different points in time. So I took a little bit of that money and I was like, let's buy like ring lights and like phone stands and mics for like 10 of our providers, and let's have them start making content for us. And then I will start selling that. Even before it was created, I'm out there selling it, trying to see if someone would pay for it. And I think we signed our first customers, like a real estate company in California, and they spent like $25,000 on just like an app that has content in it for wellness. And I was like, okay, this idea's got legs. Like we can do that. And then the other thing that started happening next is that we had life coaches on our platform that were part of our provider network. And these life coaches kept coming to me and they were like, hey, I'm trying to help this person, but they have like some real issues. They need to talk to a therapist. And, you know, like I'm just a life coach. I can't help them through anxiety and like divorce and all of this stuff. And
yeah,
there were like a lot of mental health things that were kind of exploding. And so the life coaches were like, can we find some therapists that we can refer these people to? So I kind of started on this journey initially just to be like, can we find a clinic to partner with? Can we find something? And I had called all over the place and everybody said the same thing. They were like, we're so backed up. There's so much demand.
Right. It was, yeah, the COVID thing, just there was therapy needs everywhere.
Or was. So I was like, well, no one's going to help us. So I was like, well, either one of two things is true. Either there is a shortage of therapists and we're just out of luck. There's no one we can refer to. We can't hire our own. Or there are therapists out there and we can just hire our own and add it as an additional service to like the stuff we were experimenting with. So I hired like our first like 3 or 4 licensed counselors, and started adding that to the mix. And that quickly dwarfed all of the other virtual stuff we were doing. It was like 90% therapy.
I can see that at that time. I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I said, hey, this is really working. It was providing a lot of value to the companies we were working with, and we were starting to sell more because they were looking for mental health solutions. Healthcare through like the traditional health insurance plans was too slow. There were like 3-month waits to see a therapist through your own network. And so all these companies were like grasping, like, oh crap, our employees are.
We need somewhere else to go.
Yeah. So they were looking, and their EAPs weren't cutting it either. So employee assistance programs, which most companies have, I mean, we were still looking at months out to talk to someone, and those are designed for crisis response. Like you're supposed to be able to talk to someone like the same day or next day, and they weren't functioning at all. So all these companies were looking for better solutions because they were like losing employees and burnout and anxiety and like just the transition from being at work to being at home and then trying to figure out how to balance it and create boundaries. There was just so much.
Yeah.
It was a crazy time. So then I kind of had these 2 different pathways going. One was selling this content, which I had been able to prove that could be a product. The other one was selling like a package of services, which started with those wellness services. And then we added therapy. And I had 2 separate parallel products that I was selling separately. And then it was about like December of 2020, after we had been doing this for a few months, where I was just like, we need to bring those 2 pieces together because the content can support the therapy and the therapists can like prescribe the content, right? It can help reinforce the stuff that they're learning in their live sessions. And
that fits. Yeah.
Just had that idea to bring them together. And that's really when the product started to be like a real product and like the future of the company. We realized, okay, we don't know if massage is ever coming back. Let's assume that it doesn't, and let's put everything we have into this new product that we've been developing. So that is kind of the genesis story right there.
That's awesome. So you get to that certain point in 2020, and you can see it's working, and then you got to double down with what is working, and then not worry about what's not working. And well, those were interesting ideas though, but they led you
to where you're at now. You always have to be content with going through a couple of iterations before you find that right pivot. It's not just changing to something else, but have a huge open mind to what might be next. And that's what you did.
Yeah.
That's great.
And sometimes you have to go through a couple names before it's the right name for the company too. So
tell me how that worked out for you. Love to hear that. Share that with our listeners.
It's like a running joke with me and some of my investors that like my favorite thing to do in the world is rebrand. Because so when we saw COVID hit and our business annihilated in a matter of weeks, we were like, okay, I don't know what the future is going to look like, but what I do know is it's going to be wellness related, and we can't have the name incorporate massage because that, pins us into this little massage niche, which we can.
Yeah, it locks you in.
So I was like, we have to have a more like broad name, and we don't know where it's going to go, so it needs to be more generalized. And so while we were kind of putting together these live services and building this content, we were able to do a full rebrand website, everything to a name called Zenovate, which I was in love with. I was like, this is the greatest name. My whole team loved it. It was like catchy and fun. I had been like featured in a bunch of like Silicon Slope stuff and, getting to talk to all these big leaders, and mental health was like at the top. They had like a weekly mental health town hall, and like we were involved in all these things under our new brand name. And what happened is, because we knew we needed to rebrand immediately or we were just going to like run out of money and go out of business. And so we, I spent a bunch of time. I actually love branding. I do. So it's not an untrue accusation that I love rebranding. It's like the challenge and excitement of it. I love design. I love logos. I love, the colors and the tone and all of that is so fun. So I came up with Zenovate after, many long days of researching, and there was nothing in the USPTO website. There was nothing online, and we launched in 5 weeks. So it was like me and my chief marketing officer at the time just were like going like all day and all night building a whole new website and everything. And then it was like, boom, we were out the door 5 weeks after that Friday the 13th when COVID hit. So that was pretty incredible. And I was like really excited. It was like,
how long did you go on Zenovate until the red flag went up?
We got a cease and desist in July.
So you ran, 4 months or so.
And I was like, no, we just did this. And it was like so much work and expensive and all these things. And, but yeah, we got a letter from a company with a similar name. It wasn't even spelled the same, but, they had just submitted to USPTO, which is probably how they found us. And, basically, we knew it was going to take some time between the cease and desist before like anything substantial came out of it, right? Where we actually had to do what we were doing. So sometimes people will just send that and then they don't really care. And so we were like, well, maybe they won't care and they'll just let it go. Or maybe they'll like contact us again. And so we went like another couple months and then we got like another letter. And then we were like, okay, we really have to
have to change.
Yeah, we have to change. And so, but we were like, let's just wait until, we get served and then we'll launch the rebrand. But until then, let's take our time to find like the right name and look and feel and all of these things. And so it wasn't like hair on fire, like COVID hitting and we had to rebrand really quickly, but it was like, okay, we've got a little bit of runway, at least a few months. Let's find like the right name that is associated with literally nothing. There is
to find something.
There's a beach in India and a little city in India called Nivati. But other than that, it's like, there's no companies. I bought like every domain of every possible different spelling and sounding of the name just to make sure, like, because I was like, this company's going to be huge. So we got to make sure we have like all of our ducks in a row. Because I had been through, and this is not the first like branding challenge that we had. Even Incorporate Massage prior to that had a different name. And So, which is why my investors think it's funny. So I was just like, never again am I going to have this kind of embarrassment. Like, we are going to make sure it is done right. So
Yeah.
I've been through quite a few name changes with the company, the EIN that I have that has stayed the same through the 15 years.
Through the different ride. That's crazy. Well, and if you'll share with us what Nivati in Sanskrit, or what that means, and as for meaning standpoint, that's relevant.
Yeah, so it's two words in Sanskrit. So there's the ni and then the vati, and it means to turn inward. So, which we thought was really great as we're like focusing on mental health and mindfulness and wellness. It's just really reflective of what we were trying to do. So,
great message. So you got through that, and that was 2020, and here we are 4 years later. So, describe your last couple of years and how you've grown with your software and connecting with potential customers and rolling that out.
Yeah. It's like, how do I sum that up? It's just, it's a roller coaster. So that December of 2020, I had launched with like my first 8 customers, maybe just like here in Utah. And as you may recall, the times were very flush in the venture space.
Yes.
And so I had like no problem at all raising $800,000 to take like, hey, here's our proof of concept. We've got our first 8 paying customers. This is what we're going to be. They put a bunch of money in. We were able to actually build out, because even in the beginning, it was like I was doing demos of like Adobe XD because we hadn't like built the actual platform yet. So it's like, this is our platform.
This is what it is. Yeah.
But it doesn't really exist yet. And then, selling like this big content library, but maybe we only had like 30 videos in it at the time. And so I had sold this vision, and now we had to turn that vision into reality.
Right.
It's a very common thing to do as like a startup founder, is like, you have to get that proof of concept that the market wants this, and then you work on delivery. So we got the 800,000, built out like a tech team, and just got to building. And then we got to 2022. I think we had about 30 clients at that time. And we raised $4 million in venture funding, so previous everything I had raised was angel. So,
okay.
So yeah, we had finally a model that was like scalable and had the margins and was like tech-based to where we actually were a fit for venture funding. And now that I'd had a taste of raising angel funding, I was like, well, I really want to see if I can raise venture funding. This will be so awesome. It's something I hadn't ever done before. And so I was thrilled. We set out to raise 3 million. We ended up with 4. So that was just really exciting. We were oversubscribed. I ended up having to sell, like, we had investors that wanted in, and we were capped at 4 million. And the VCs, our leads, wouldn't let us take any more of that. But they were like, but you can sell your personal stock. So I even was able to sell some of my common stock, which is totally unheard of at like this stage of a company. But there were investors that wanted to get in on the deal, and we're like, yeah, I'll buy common. Which, looking back, I'm just like, that's crazy. But very cool. So we start growing. It's just been a lot of like technology development, right? Like figuring out how to build out analytics and what we want to track and how we report that back to customers, building a scalable CS process so that we have like kickoff, onboarding and kickoff, and then like those QBRs and renewals and like what that whole process looks like, and building a sales team and firing the whole sales team, and then building a sales team and then firing the whole sales team and then building a sales team. And then it just like goes in this circle where it always comes back to, oh, I'm the salesperson, because for some reason that's a struggle. So that's still one of our struggles today, is that no one can sell as good as I can. And it doesn't matter. It's just, I don't know why. I'm hoping that there's a future where that is solved for. But yeah, we just, now it's like me and one sales rep that I'm managing. And it's just like, we're just doing it. And just
that's awesome.
Big infrastructure does nothing but increase our burn.
Now your daughter, you told me that your daughter sees you as someone who's resilient, and you've had to deal with that as an entrepreneur that can believe in a vision and then sell the vision. If you'd share with our listeners some of those things that maybe help you maintain that resilience when you know when you don't know what that next thing is around that next bend, how you just pick yourself up and say, well, how do we solve this? What's some internal strategies that you do for yourself that give you that lift?
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of crazy to zoom out and look at it and be like, I don't even know how I made it through that pivot. It's like day by day. So it's like every day I'm like focusing on the why, right? Whether that's like some days it can be as simple as like, well, I have to keep like earning money for my family because in the middle
Yeah,
of that whole COVID pivot, we were building our dream house. So we like
of course.
we
Yeah.
like lost everything, and I was like, oh crap. Like we have spent 6 years saving up for the lot, and then saving up for the architects, and then saving up for the construction loan down payment, right? Like it had been this like long journey to get to like building this house in Midway that we love, but it was only halfway done. And in COVID, all the construction costs skyrocketed. So luckily our house was framed before lumber went through the roof. We had
That was good. This part of it got done.
I was so grateful for that. But some days it was just like, I have to do this because I have to find a way, or we're going to like lose our house. And you can't sell a half-built house for what you bought it for, So I was just like,
yeah,
like we will be homeless. This is like the way I'm saying it in my head is like, oh my gosh, I got to do this or our family's not going to have anywhere to live. Some days it's like that was motivating me.
That's incentive though. That's incentive.
It is. And then, most of the time though, it's the bigger picture of like why. Like I could do anything in the world. I could go get a job somewhere, probably making as much or more money than I make, here paying myself, at Nivati. But it's like, why did I choose this? And what's the impact I want to have on the world? And it sounds very idealistic, but I am an idealist. So I own it. And that ideal is like, hey, I only get one life. And what is the mark I want to leave on the world? How do I want to be helping and making the world a better place? And that I'm 100% motivated by that. And leaving that like example for my daughters. I have three daughters, and having them, how are they going to go out into the world and make the world better? And I think for me, that's like the whole point of why we're here. So I can always come back to that. And when I'm feeling beat up, like, oh, customers are churning or somebody had a bad experience or whatever, if I just go in and I read some of these customer testimonials, like from the individual employees that have been using our platform, and it's just like, you literally saved me from suicide, like being able to talk to this person turned my life around, or this saved our marriage, things like that. You're just like, wow, what I'm doing really matters. Maybe we, need to work on our pricing, or maybe our customer success experience needs a little, smoothing out, or whatever the case may be. Those become suddenly just small little bumps that it's just like, okay, we need to smooth that out, instead of like, oh, the sky is falling, like it's too hard. So it helps maintain that perspective to stay connected to the why of the company.
Yeah, that's great. I think that's so important for any entrepreneurs out there, or CEOs or executives. Be content with the growth where you're at. Know that the problems in front of you they're just. My dad always said, don't worry about the speed bumps in front of you, because you're going to have them. They're going to just know that you're going to wake up in the morning and you're going to have them just like the next person. And what I love what we've done with your company is you focus on the people first. When you were needing to pivot, you cared about the people that were there. You were worried about them having an employment and revenue, and you went into problem solving mode. How do I make this work? And I when I was a kid, I remember going to my dad saying, what am I going to do for a living? And he says, don't worry about it. Just figure out how you can help the most people and make your money secondary, and everything will work out, and life will be more enjoyable that way. And when you can take that kind of attitude into a company like you did, that's fantastic. That's the heart of how you get a company to go from point A to point B, and to really start to have a nice J curve and growth. So yeah. Congratulations on what you've done to this point. And I'm sure I'll be watching your company in the future over the next couple of years, and looking forward to seeing how it goes. So anything you want to share on where you want to go in the future with your company?
Yeah, it's been really exciting over this last probably year and a half. We've been really focused on channel expansion. And so we're just embarking on like our first, it's going to be like a large pilot with a payer network where they're measuring the outcomes. It's like our product has finally gotten to a point where we hypothesize that there are real measurable healthcare outcomes to users of the Nivati platform, right? Like if they're proactively taking care of their sleep and their nutrition and talking to, therapists or watching videos from our clinicians that are helping them with challenges in their life, they're less likely to end up needing to use the behavioral health through their health insurance or even having maybe comorbidities that show up. So I'm really excited to we're basically putting this in front of like 10,000 lives. And we'll be measuring the effect on healthcare outcomes from like the individual pre and post Nivati, cohort groups of like companies that implemented it versus companies that didn't. We're also measuring clinical anxiety and depression. And then, hopefully it's wildly successful. And we have this like amazing white paper that gets published in a medical journal. And like, it's a long healthcare outcomes is a long, it's a 2-year pilot that we're running. So that starts in January and we'll be running that for 2 years and hopefully coming out on the other side with some real
data.
Yeah, real data, which is going to be really exciting. We do have some data. We have like utilization data and employee engagement data. We have tons of like employee testimonials that like the employers can see like what their employees are saying about their access to the program and things like that. But what we're seeing in the market right now is that like a lot of companies are getting hit with, the economy is actually, it's going down. We were all hoping it was going to go up. It's going down. So a lot of companies are feeling a lot of pressure on budgets. About half of our customers are nonprofits and grant funded. And so many grants have been cut and eliminated that like even some of the like grant funded schools that we work with have shut down, which is crazy. So we were doing a lot in the education space and that is starting to disappear because a lot of those grants have dried up. And then companies that aren't grant funded are seeing their healthcare costs going up like 30% is what I'm hearing. And so it's getting harder to justify those budgets. So where we could sell before and it was like utilization and employee happiness is like good enough. Now to sell in the current environment, we have to go a step further and there has to be like real measurable ROI for the CFO to sign off on that. And luckily we have a couple customers who have been measuring their own data internally and shared that with us. So I have like a couple case studies on like what it's done for employee turnover and employee engagement.
Well, that's great. You have that data because you can use that for now as anecdotal evidence while you're building out a full clinical trial over the next 2 years. So.
Yeah, it's actually really helpful because I was like, oh, here's the things you're measuring. This is what matters to you. Okay, let's figure out how to measure those in our own platform. And so it's been really great to just have like a couple awesome, it's like a health system that we work with and like a city government that we're like tracking all of this stuff.
Okay.
Gave it to us.
Great.
So that's where we're headed in the future. And just, I feel like running a startup, you're always like, well, we could be out of business tomorrow or it could be wildly successful. And you just never know. And you just have to kind of get comfortable with that lack of security and that risk. And it's something I'm well practiced in. So very familiar to me, but I don't know. People will be like, oh, you're so successful. I'm like, are you successful when you perpetually just have 6 months of runway? I don't know what happens to success.
But the journey is so fascinating. It's not about the destination, as we know. And if you really embrace the journey, that's what life's all about. Is that, and that's what you're doing. And anybody that's trying to build or run or grow a company, embrace the journey and have fun with it. So, thanks again for your time today. And we're looking forward to seeing what you guys do over the next couple of years.
Awesome. Thanks, Lamont.
Take care.
Thank you for tuning in to the Fountain of Vitality podcast. Head to fountainofvitality.com for more episodes, insights, and resources. Remember, your health is yours to own. Take charge, focus on what you can control, and keep exploring what works for you. Always be your best self, lift others, and trust the compass of wisdom. Until next time, stay vibrant and take care.